Huge news out of Games Workshop camp here today, guys. We got a massive reveal of Abaddon the Despoiler, and he is glorious. He is huge, he is girthy, he is hot and ready. I mean, look at this model here. They did say it's inspired by the original Abaddon model. Jess Goodwin, I believe, who created the very first Abaddon, also recreated his new iteration here today. And Abaddon's got a lot going for him. Like, look how beautiful this model is. In the current era of Games Workshop models, we're getting so many new sculpts and so many new, interesting and different, but also very exciting ways to really approach what has been an age-old thing here in Chaos Space Marines and normal Space Marines, except for this. I guess you could make an exception here with the new Space Marine Gundam wing variation for the Shadow Spear, but we'll go into that later. But with Abaddon, we get this gloriously huge new model. We see the Talon of Horus in its glory here, just kind of re-magnified it and re-gloried out. Now, take a look at this scale here. We see Guardsman, we see a Primaris, and then we see Abaddon the Despoiler himself. So we can see he's a full, almost 2 times taller than a normal Primaris. This is going to put him on par with your Daemon model, which is about that same scale. I think Daemon's actually a little bit taller than Abaddon. I would have loved to have seen another shadow behind that, and it being Daemon himself, because I think Daemon is he's obviously smaller than both of the Traitor Primarchs, but I think he's the largest single unit or single entity model when it comes to the Imperium. Well, aside from stuff like Knights, I mean, single entity individual, not a war machine here. But you can see that Abaddon is fleshed out in all of his glory. No longer does he have the double trophy spikes on his left and right side. They went with a single one on top of his back. He has that the great sword Dracnian, which if you haven't read Emperor of Mankind, you need to read that, or Master of Mankind, so you can hear at least the beginning of the backstory of Dracnian. It is amazing. But we get a lot of variations with this model as well. For the first time with a special character like this, right? We started to get that with Daemon, where we have a non-helmeted and a helmeted variation of his head. But we also get Standard Edition Abaddon. We get Rebreather Abaddon for when he farts on himself. And then we get the more grim, more solemn-looking Abaddon, which is more reminiscent of his Horus Heresy self. And this is opening the door to Vigilus Ablaze. Abaddon has finally reached Vigilus, which is the pivotal planet here, right? This is what separates the Imperium and Imperium Nihilus. And if Vigilus is to fall, then that means that there is no succinct way for the Imperium to get into the Imperium Nihilus, cutting off planets such as Baal and the Blood Angels entirely, and other chapters, of course. Now, this Vigilus Ablaze is going to be kind of paving the road for a lot of Chaos Space Marines to really get revamped and get their face lifted in a non-Slaneshi way. And we see this with some great artwork here. We can see also, this is all the new, I'm sorry, these are Tempestus Scions, and we get a lot of art here hinting at a lot of really cool things coming. We see some Blood Angels over here in this corner. We see all new Black Legion. Well, not all new, but just some great new Black Legion art here. Some flying things that I don't know what all of them are. Some of them, I mean, this is obviously the Helldrake. We see some stuff that I can't quite identify initially. But some oldies and some goodies. We see Abaddon himself. We see some Terminators. But this is really going to open the gate to a lot of Chaos stuff coming our way. We already see the Venom Crawler here, a brand new model for Chaos that is coming with Shadow Spear, those new Chaos Space Marine models. But we also see a hint at one of the new Havocs with their, I don't know if this is just going to be an assault cannon, or if this is a new brand spanking new Havoc weapon. Hopefully the Havocs will get overhauled, because they just kind of have fallen out in use of, say, Obliterators, or just not even using Chaos Space Marines as a whole. Chaos Space Marines have really fallen behind the power curve in the competitive meta for Chaos Space Marines Chaos Space Marines as a faction. When you look at Thousand Suns Legions, or when you look at Death Guard, taking Plague Marines actually isn't the most competitive pick. Choosing Thousand Suns, well, you really want to choose them for their sorcerers. So hopefully the Black Legion brings a lot more spotlight back onto the Standard Edition Chaos Space Marine. You can see that they get their nice true scale update, like we got with the Death Guard, like we got with the Thousand Suns, and we're now getting with the Black Legion. Hopefully the Black Legion will bring a lot of stratagems or things to the board that make taking Chaos Space Marines very fun and very exciting. And one thing I want to go into with this Vigilus Ablaze is all the Demon Engine kind of teasers we've been getting the past month. So let's go through some of those. I've grouped them to what I think that they might be together rather than going through chronologically. So let's go ahead and take a look here. Now, some of these have kind of already been solved for us, right? These next couple pictures are clearly the greater possessed that have been launched from the Shadowspear box. So if we take a look at this is the left arm of one of them. And don't worry, we have a picture of the Shadowspear box at the end of this. So we'll go over which ones or which pieces we see in conjunction with some of the rumor engine. So this is the left arm of one of them. Let's go. This is the foot of another one. This is the hand of that exact same one. This is all from the same model. And this is the backpack of one or the other. We don't see the back of the backpack, but this is most definitely from the Greater Possessed. Now, moving on from here, though, we get some other images, right? Some images that kind of hint towards maybe a new Chaos Demon engine coming our way. This is clearly probably not something simple, or it's something that someone is standing upon. And as we flesh out some of the possible word bearer choices, I could easily see a word bearer standing on top of this. I mean, do I want it to be Lorgar? That'd be pretty cool, but I don't think that Lorgar would come in something like this. I think that if Vigilus was Lorgar themed, or Vigilus was coming back with him, or even Angron was coming back with it, I think that would be the centerpiece and not Abaddon. I think that they're going to come back in their own separate situations, or maybe a whole Primarch thing with, let's just say, Angron and Lorgar and the return of Lionel Johnson and Leman Russ. I think that they would make it centered around a Primarch or the Primarchs, not Abaddon with the Primarchs in tow. It doesn't really kind of fit to me, at least in my mind. So this could be something Wordbearer-esque. It could be something on top of a Demon engine. But what I think about this is, when I look at this next picture, I think of the two in conjunction. This could just be a piece that's going to be on top of maybe a Chaos Rhino that is Wordbearer themed. And this does really kind of stink of Wordbearer to me, right? You have a lot of torches, you have a lot of candles. They love seances and bubble baths. So this is kind of really in line with that overall feeling of a Wordbearer. Maybe this is, again, if this is maybe the same piece, maybe this is some sort of dais that a master of possession stands upon from the Wordbearers. Who really knows? And I really think that these two images, though, do play in conjunction. Now, moving over here, we've already seen the Venom Crawler and how it has its viscerating claws and so on and so forth. But I think that there are going to be some variations on that. You know, Games Workshop does a lot of multi-part kits wherein you can make different things from one kit. And the Venom Crawler, I don't think, is any different. I think that we're going to see different variations on that are maybe a little bit more longer ranged and heavier damage. With their kind of revamp of the Havocs, maybe that's the big push for the Black Legion, or at least Chaos Space Marines as a whole, is to really revamp their long range. When you look at the competitive meta of current Warhammer 40,000, look at Imperial Guard, look at Imperial Knights, and you look at those as really the two big things, the two big nuts to crack. And this would be a great way to add additional firepower to a pretty short range list with the Chaos Space Marines. They don't have a lot of great answers for your Imperial Knights, and Imperial Guard can just sit there and shoot all 15 of their cannons in turn one and wipe out, what, 3/4 of your army. So this might be a way to either add some additional staying power or add some harder targets that can pop some of the Imperial Knights that we see so much in the competitive meta nowadays. This kind of plays hand in hand with that, an additional leg. This does not look like the leg of the Venom Crawler from Shadowspear, and we'll take a look at that again at the end of this. It's the very last picture in this list here. But moving on, we talked a little bit about possible new World Eaters. And if you saw the new Voxcast that Games Workshop released on the Warhammer community page, you saw them kind of going through the entirety of the Shadowspear box with Jess Goodwin, talking about, hey, how did you come up with the designs for a lot of these things? It was really awesome to hear him talk about that. But at the very end, they said, hey, what's your favorite Traitor Legion? And he said World Eaters, and they both kind of had this weird tongue-in-cheek moment where they winked at each other about possible new World Eater models. Now, this could play hand in hand with that, right? We could see this as a possible new Chain Axe or the World Eaters. Khorne Berserkers love spilling blood, and there's one item that spills more blood than a chain sword. It's a Chain Axe. So this could be definitely very indicative of that. You have a skull on top, skulls for the Skull Throne, skulls for the Skull Chain Axe. But to me, this kind of stinks of World Eater. Now, again, this could be a backpack of the new Chaos Space Marines that are launched with Shadowspear. It might not. But we know with each and every of the new Traitor Legion Chaos Space Marines, the Death Guard and the Thousand Suns, they've gotten some sort of backpack that is indicative of that Traitor Legion. Now again, this could just be me going on a rant about this, but this could be a possible World Eater backpack. The symbol of the World Eater is a maw crushing a world. And you have a big open maw right here, and there's just this little symbol here, of course. That's probably the thing sticking down from the back of your throat that I can't think of the top of my head because I'm riffing so hard. But I want this to be a new World Eater backpack because I want to see no Khorne Berserkers, because Khorne Berserkers were the centerpiece of my Chaos army when I started playing Chaos after Space Wolves back in like 4th edition, 5th edition. So to me, they're very near and dear to my heart, and I might be reaching here. This could just simply be the backpack on the Shadowspear Marines. We've only seen the front of them, so in time, I can actually take a look at the sprues that they've revealed in the box to see if this is actually part of the Shadowspear box. I didn't think about that when talking about this, so I'll take a look at that and we'll see after the fact. But moving on, to play into more Word Bearers action, I think that the Word Bearers are going to start seeing a lot more of a resurgence here, right? When you think of the arch enemy of the Ultramarines, I think of the Word Bearers. Also, Death Guard kind of play into that with their most recent event of attacking Macragge and whatnot. But when you think of Calth and you think of the Horus Heresy and you think of the war on Macragge, or I'm sorry, of all 500 of the planets, you think of the Word Bearers. You think of Lorgar kind of exacting his revenge against Guilliman during the Horus Heresy. And I think that no better way to incorporate the Word Bearers into the kind of overarching narrative than is to introduce them right now, right? With Guilliman now coming back, it makes a lot of sense to bring Lorgar back, to bring the Word Bearers back. And this is a symbol for either a new Master of Possession that is Word Bearer themed or a special character that is Word Bearer themed, I think makes a lot of sense. If this could even be... Lorgar had a big awesome mace, so I don't really see this as Lorgar's weapon. But we also see this, which is a book on fire with a marine hand holding it. Now, one of the symbols of the Word Bearers, aside from a flaming skull, is a flaming book. So this thing just stinks of Word Bearer to me. Could it be the Book of Lorgar? I highly doubt it. But at the same time, I think that we are still looking at another thing that hints heavily at a Word Bearer presence in the days to come as we hear more and more and more about the Vigilus campaign and Abaddon having landed on the planet now, or at least in orbit around the planet. And we move on to something I really wanted to talk about earlier in the Night Lords. Now, Night Lords love lightning claws. Conrad Kurz himself, he had 2 of them. So you can see here that this is some possible evidence of more Night Lords. Not because it's a lightning claw, but because we have the webbed lightning Metallica construct on the gauntlet here of it webbing out. This could be simply a Night Lord's Terminator, or it could hint at something a little bit different, something a little bit more wide sweeping. The Night Lords have never had a unifying force since their Primarch died, since the Primarch was killed by an assassin, M. Shen, to name drop here. But one of the big things from the Night Lord trilogy books by Aaron Dembski Bowden was that there's only one person that can unite the Night Lords under one banner, and that is Sevatar. Sevatar is the first captain of the Night Lords and has a kind of a weird kinship with Conrad Kurz, and the only way that you can, because Conrad Kurz in and of himself is very isolated and weird. And his go-to weapon was a chain glaive, a power glaive, and this is very indicative of that. When I first saw this, I was like, oh, this is just a massive power sword. This is going to be for a massive sword for a Chaos Terminator. Then I saw this part. It clearly makes it look like it's a polearm. And Sevatar used this thing. It had a homing beacon in it, so he could teleport around with it. It was an awesome construct of an awesome character from an awesome Traitor Legion. You guys get the fact that I like the Night Lords? I fucking love them. So, to me, the previous 2 images speak of a possible Night Lord resurgence with the whole Vigilus campaign. And the Night Lords really haven't gotten their just deserves in my mind. Sure, do I want them to have their own supplement? Yes. Does it make a lot of sense? No. They don't have a lot of distinctive characteristics for varying units to really justify having their own supplement. I think they just need like a really good beefy portion of the Chaos Space Marine book, or give them a nice little FAQ portion, and boom, you're there, you're good to go. And I think that this might be the situation in which we see this with the Vigilus campaign. Moving on, though, we did talk a little bit about Terminators, and nothing says Terminators quite like trophy head spikes. And this is curved here, so it kind of tells me this is on the shoulder pads of tactical dreadnought armor. It could, of course, be on a Demon engine. It could be on a Chaos Rhino or a Predator, but the curve here kind of, again, tells me that I think it's a little bit more of the curvature of a shoulder or an arm plate, hinting at, of course, some Chaos Terminator play. Now, This could, of course, play into that. This could be a Chaos Terminator new Power Fist, but I think that this might just be part of the new Marine box that we're going to get for Chaos Space Marines. Clearly with Shadow Spear, with Blackstone Fortress, we've gotten the new True Scale Marines like I was talking about earlier, and we're going to need a new box to accompany them. The current Marines, they've been in it for a long time, like 10 years. They've been fighting the long war. I think it's time to get updated to that new True Scale. And this kind of hints at either a Terminator or a Havoc presence, right? We've seen the new Havoc Assault Cannon or whatever that's going to be called. And this looks like a new autocannon. Now we see one in the Shadow Spear box, but it is different. The Shadow Spear box has a chain that links these two. So this could be a new autocannon that goes on top of a Terminator. So it's the arm of a Terminator. It's really hard to say here because there are so many options for this. This could just simply be a new Havoc box that we're kind of getting teased at. And we even see this, which is a new heavy bolter. I'd love to see this as like a variation of the frag cannon, because the frag cannon is really strong for the Imperium, but we see the heavy bolter has this kind of repeating motif all throughout the history of the Chaos Space Marines. So this is, again, probably a new Havoc model or a new option for the Chaos Space Marines box for their new unit. And if we take a look at the Vigilus here, we can even see some of these things. We can see the autocannon. We can see that it has that chain here. Taking a look at this guy in the back, we can see his Vagina Claw, we can see his Slanesh Claw, we can see his little paw, and then you can see the double thruster backpack of the one of the first images we were taking a look at. And when we look at the Venom Claw, oh man, I'm just completely mucked that one up. But we can see that these legs are not the same. There is no gigantic no gigantic weapon on top here. We see a different weapon. So hopefully this will again be a different variation of this model. And even when we look at the Master of Possession, nothing here looks like any of those Demon Engine counterparts. So we can see a lot of stuff is very different. We can see that this axe is not like that axe that we saw previously. Even taking a look at some other stuff, we do see that this eye is on here, you know, the Eye of Horus, the Black Legion here. So this is very possible to just simply be on its backpack, and that could be the backpack we talked about earlier. But that's really me holding against hope that it is not that way. So hopefully, guys, in the next couple of days, we'll be covering more and more and more of Vigilus Burned as we go through the upcoming releases for Chaos Space Marines. They do need a lot of love, and I think that they're going to be getting quite a bit here in the coming days. And hopefully that'll be indicative of other things getting a really good facelift, right? I think Chaos Space Marines have really needed this for a long time coming. I mean, I was talking to Turin, and if you don't know Turin, if you're joining me from not the Total War community, Turin is another Total War YouTuber that I went to college with, and he plays Death Guard, I play Blood Angels, and I was showing him all my old Space Marine models, and he was like, man, the only things that are out of date here are your Chaos Lords. The rest is all current stuff, which is true. I mean, and I bought those Chaos Space Marines like 15 years ago. So this is really a long time coming for Chaos. Really stoked to see what we get here, guys, and I'll be covering it as Warhammer community launches more and more content of the upcoming Chaos. But as always, thanks so much for watching here today. I will be covering a lot more of the hobby news in addition to game news. So if you're stoked on this, go ahead and click like, subscribe, all that kind of action. But have a good one and take care.